Okay. All right. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, Israel. Welcome back to Hebrew Chosen Elect Sabbath class. I want to give all praise, glory, and honor Yahweh by Shem Mashiach Yahweh Shai. Somebody take care of that. Not you. Um, like I said, all praise, glory, and honor Yahweh by Shem Mashiach Yahweh Shai. This week we're picking back up part two of our history they don't want you to know class, Juneteenth edition. Um, Going into the history of so-called black people here in America after the Emancipation Proclamation, the freeing of slaves from captivity. Um, June 19th being the nationally recognized date for the last slaves being freed. Um, going into that history, what quote unquote freedom was like after June 19th. Um, Quick recap, just for those that don't know, uh, what is Juneteenth? Why it's called Juneteenth? And Juneteenth is an official U.S. and federal holiday celebrated on June 19th that commemorates the emancipation of enslaved African Americans. It marks the anniversary of the day in 1865 when Union troops arrived in Galveston, Texas, to ensure the last enslaved people in the country were freed. So that's the definition or the history of Juneteenth. It's a memorial of June 19th, 1865, the said last enslaved people to be freed from slavery. Uh, so last week we was going into the book Worse Than Slavery, um, and really going into how after this so-called freeing of the slaves, what they did is they really just turned around and came up with ways, what were called black codes or black laws, to re-enslave black people. Um, they made the conditions of being free for black people impossible to live in. And then those black laws were made to make it a crime that you couldn't find a job, for example. That would be a crime. You could serve years in a prison, which was a plantation, or what were some of them? Not having proof of a job, vagrancy laws, loitering. Just about breathing, basically. Yeah. So, um, and so where we left off last week was going into what would be subleasing. So, let me look up definition of subleasing. Uh, it was convict leasing, and that was when after you would, committed not a crime, but what was deemed a crime, you would take that. Subleasing.
Slavery rebranding.
Yeah.
They just was rebranding it, renaming it.
Mm-hmm. So they would take you as prisoner, and you would be subleased, which sublease means, and the program was called convict leasing, right? So they would sublease the convicts. Sublease is a legal arrangement where an existing tenant rents out all or part of a leased property to a new third party. So that property was you once you became a convict for not having proof of employment in a territory where we're not hiring blacks. Now you would be a property of the state. reduced back into servitude on a plantation, and now subleased. We kind of went in last week how one of the ways it was worse than slavery is during slavery times the owner would own 50 slaves or whatever, and he most of the time it was his money. He had already paid for you in whole, or he was still paying for you the same way you would pay on a car, right? And he would have a certain care of at least keeping you alive, keeping you fed and watered enough. And yeah, I said right, like cattle, watered enough to survive the day in the field. With the convict leasing, you could be worked to death, and it would make the master now no, never mind, because with the convict leasing program, if you died, the state would just send you another one. Oh, we got plenty. So he would be replaced. But during quote unquote legal slavery times, right? If you died in that field, the owner of the plantation, he would be out a laborer. And to replace that laborer, that slave, he would have to go buy another one. So it would hurt his pocket. So that's one way that it was worse than slavery now, because you being a plantation owner, being the master of the plantation, you could work him to death. And it, like I said, don't even matter. I'm going to get a new one. Right? So that's where we left off last week. Worse than slavery book. They sell it on Amazon or online. I would say if you don't got that book already, go get you a copy. We're at page 44. We actually ended at 47, but I don't want to pick up in the middle of the point, or 47. Page 47 picks up. So we're going to reverse a little bit to page 44. And you can go ahead and read highlighted part when you get a chance.
From a business standpoint, the subleasing was ideal. It plugged the major weakness of the old system, the high fixed cost of labor under the sublease. An employer was not stuck with a set number of prisoners over a long period of time.
See that? That's exactly what I was talking about. Go ahead.
He did not have to feed, clothe, and guard them when there was little work to be done. He could now lease convicts according to his specific or seasonal needs.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of human misery, however, this system could hardly have been worse. The convict now found himself laboring for the profits of three separate parties. Bunch of middlemen.
Mm-hmm.
The sublease, the leasee.
So the subleasee, the subleasee. Go ahead.
The leasee, the state.
So the subleasee, the leasee, and the state. Go ahead.
There was no one to protect him from savage beatings, endless work days, and murderous neglect.
Mm-hmm.
It is to be supposed that subleasees take convicts for the purpose of making money out of them, wrote a prison doctor. So naturally, the less food and clothing used, the more labor derived from their bodies. The more money in the pockets of the subleasee. If a convict died or escaped, his employer lost nothing.
See that? Yeah, he didn't lose nothing because he'd be replaced. Go ahead.
Colonel Hamilton would profitably supply a replacement at $9 per month.
Yeah, like I said, one go, you lose one, we got another one waiting. Right? Go ahead.
Hamilton's convicts worked at jobs that free labor did not like to do, in places where free labor sometimes feared to go. Employers preferred them over Asians, too fragile, Irish, too belligerent, and local blacks, too slow.
And that's the blacks that are free. The free blacks are too slow. But if them same blacks, if we put you in chains, now you good to go now.
They got stereotypes for everybody.
Yeah, everybody.
Man, Asians too fragile, Irish are too drunk. Blacks are just slow.
Yeah, but which really is just shining a light on the hate. It's the hatred that Esau has always had for his brother Jacob, the so-called blacks. Go ahead.
So we can agree that this is human trafficking.
Yeah, it's slavery still.
Slavery.
This is just slavery all over again. Matter of fact, it was turned into a trap. Let me get Jeremiah 5:26. This is just the wicked showing his true colors. So what they say. They said slavery is bad. We're gonna come along. We're gonna free you guys. We're gonna give you 40 acres and a mule and happily ever after. And now we're good. We're so good. We freed the slaves. See, we're not so bad. But was it sincere? It was never sincere. What they did is, as we've been reading, they made a system to now steal human traffic. Because the laws that would put you back in slavery and prison were, like Yaquab said, breathing. You're breathing. You're just alive. We hate your guts. You're alive. We gave y'all liberty. Now go make something out of less than nothing.
Salak, if I may say as well. So when Esau and the other nations tell us that we're lazy and pull ourselves up from our bootstraps, we see that this is what their bootstraps look like: human trafficking.
Yeah, and to say it's that's fine, but that's something you can say to an individual. Hey, you as an individual, but we see with going into directly out of slavery, the system was set up from the quote unquote freedom, liberty given. A system was set in place to keep a people on the bottom. And that same system that started then is the same system in place today. Where, you as an individual, you might can, but how is it going to be a whole people when the system is set to keep the people on the bottom? Right.
And the plan is in its own name. We call it the Emancipation Proclamation. To emancipate someone is to transfer ownership. So no longer does some raggedy mouth Neanderthal Esau own
a citizen. Now a Neanderthal citizen don't own you.
So every even the drunkard in the corner who's just a bum, even in his own land, he becomes an owner of it.
And now the state. So it went from a Neanderthal citizen owning you. Now the Neanderthal government owns you.
Exactly.
And so that's why I want to go to this, speaking on the nation that's so good and the North freed the slaves. Jeremiah 5:26-29.
For among my people are found wicked men. They lay wait as he that setteth snares. They set a trap. They catch men.
So among his people, the Israelites, those who were freed from slavery in the 1860s, among them, my people are found wicked men, and that's the same wicked men that had us in captivity. They're still amongst us, right? They lay wait as he that setteth snares. They set a trap. They catch men. They said, "Hey, you're free. Hey, you got to have a job. We don't hire black people. If you don't present proof, you'll be convicted. You'll face a fine of what we looked up was $50, which equates to $1,000 today. And you'll have to pay that $1,000 fine in a land where there's no jobs for you. So once you can't pay it, now you guess what? Now you have to labor to pay it. And that price can be set at whatever the master wants to. That's a snare in the trap, ain't it? That's exactly what happened. That's what they did after giving quote unquote liberty. We even read last week how the Union beat the Confederacy, right? The North won against the South. Then over a short amount of time, they started allowing those same generals of the Confederate Army, those soldiers, those people that was ruling in the Confederacy that didn't die in the war. Guess what they did? they started allowing them into government offices, into politics. Imagine the uproar if America had started allowing Nazis into politics after going over there and taking out Hitler. Imagine the uproar, right? That would be a problem. Well, coming out of in the end of slavery, that's what they did, right? So they set snares, the black laws, the black codes, right? Verse 27.
As a cage is full of birds, so are their houses full of deceit.
Full of deceit, because you guys are free now. You guys can go and get take part in the American dream. You're people now. You're not livestock, but you can't vote though. You can't own guns. But hey, you're a man just like me. You can't be a slave. But hey, if you're just outside loitering, you're gonna be a slave again, right? Their houses are full of deceit.
That's that Republican House. That's the Democratic
That's
House.
the Democratic House.
You can be either or one of those, but we're going to use you to go across the earth and murder the innocent for white wealth and white domination. Yeah, so.
The house is deceitful. It's deceitful above all rest. It's above all rest. It's more profane than all rest. Right? Go ahead.
Therefore, they are become great and waxing rich.
That's why even after slavery, like that should have destroyed the South, right? The Confederacy, those states and government. It should have destroyed that whole system, but it didn't. The Union won the war, and then they freed the slaves, and then they gave the Southern states political power, government power, and the ability to set up laws to just get black people right back into slavery, right? While being able to paint a picture to the world, oh, we're so just, we're so free, we're the greatest nation on earth, and nobody's better than us. It was just all deceit, like it is today. Go ahead.
28. They are waxing fat. They shine. Yeah, they overpass the deeds of the wicked. They judge not the cause of the fatherless, yet they prosper. And the right of the needy do they not judge. And
that's what they should have did. If we were freed from slavery in the 1860s, while we sit and celebrate and have parades and festivals and cookouts, if we were really free, they wouldn't have set up laws to put the poor and needy back into slavery. They wouldn't make it a crime to be poor and needy. And that's what they did. They made it a crime for what we're reading here. You're supposed to judge the cause of the fatherless, the right of the needy. No, they set up laws where it's a crime for you to be needy. It's a crime for you to be fatherless and without any direction. Not, hey, since you are fatherless, needy, let us guide you as a father would his children, right? Let us guide you on how to get out of that needy state. Let us give you jobs. No, they said we're not going to give you jobs. And when we ask you to show proof of a job, you're a criminal. Keep going.
29. Shall I not visit for these things, saith Yahweh? Shall not my soul be avenged on such a nation as this?
And that's a rhetorical question. He's letting you know that these dealings will not go unpunished. They will be answered for. Go ahead.
Verse 30. A wonderful and horrible thing is committed in the land. The prophets prophesy falsely, and the priests bear rule by their means. And
because the leaders, the pastors, that's the main leaders of the black community and the politicians. they prophesy falsely. They teach falsely. They say that, hey, it's free. They push this whole thing forward that now we're equal. America's great. We're all together as one, right? Because prophesy also means to teach, right? Um, and it says, "My people love it so." Hey, long as we can have a cookout, long as we can go to the park, have a parade, have a good time, sing and dance, we love it so. Go ahead.
And what will ye do in the end thereof?
Because we're not separating from America, and that's the main problem with Juneteenth. It'd be one thing if we were celebrating it as a lightening of our condition, you know, a little liberty in a place where we've suffered and suffered. You know, no, we feel like we're free. We feel like now, okay, we can be one people. We can be America. Most of our people are just good with having a holiday, and we'll still send our kids to fight in their armies. We give in to everything the sports and entertainment and politics, everything America is about. We haven't mentally left off from America, mentally left from the slavery, mentally broken from this beast, Babylon the Great. Um, but that's why you got to get the history, and that's why we're doing these classes, history after slavery. So let's go back to the book. Worse than slavery. You left off at how local blacks are too slow. They said local blacks are too slow, but they wanted the blacks, so it's really talking about the free local blacks. As long as we get them back in slavery, they're not slow no more. Go ahead.
They do 30% work more than free laborers, said one report, which praised their hard, steady pace.
Mm-hmm.
When the Greenville Railroad needed workers to lay track in the scorching heat of Yazoo Delta, it subleased convicts. When the Mississippi Central needed men to dynamite a tunnel near Kosciuszko,
Mm-hmm.
it subleased convicts. When the New Orleans and the Northeastern needed labor to clear a malarial swamp south of.
I'm about to. So, but because they might not know. So, who knows what malaria is? What is it?
Disease you contract from mosquitoes and other stuff.
Right, it's a disease. Let's see what it does real quick. But yes, let's see the outcome from it. How it affects you. Malaria. Just look that up. So malaria. So for one, it's a life-threatening and, like you said, mosquito-borne infectious disease caused by Plasmodium parasites, which are transmitted through the bite of infected Anopheles mosquitoes. The disease is preventable and curable now, but requires rapid diagnosis. See, now watch. That's something they were not going to be afforded. Rapid diagnosis. So to be cured, it requires rapid diagnosis and treatment, as severe cases can progress to organ failure and death within 24 hours. So think about that. Think about slave labor. You're in the sun all day already, right? You're at risk of heat stroke, all types of what happens? Dehydration. All right, so now you add on with this case.
I got something to add to that.
All right, these slaves are in the swamp clearing out. What did it say? They were clearing out
Malaria.
a
Whole bunch of stuff.
they were needed to dynamite a tunnel. They had to clear out a swamp that is ridden with malaria. So they already are in the conditions of laboring in the sun all day long. They don't really have to be given water on regular, because if you die, you can be replaced. This disease, malaria, has to be caught and treated, or you can suffer organ failure and die in 24 hours. So, before we keep reading, go ahead. What you got?
It's funny, right? Malaria don't affect the slaves the same way as these Europeans. Because malaria was heavy in the Congo when that demon Leopold came and was doing what he was doing in Congo. So they had to create a vaccine for them. Malaria always was there. The mosquitoes was always there, but the natives basically built up immunity, or it might just was in their DNA. And that also shows why they had to get the slaves to clear it, because they probably wasn't getting it like that. But the Europeans, they was dying from malaria left and right. That's why they had to create the vaccine or whatever they created to cure malaria, because they was dying from it. Black folks wasn't. Not like that anyway.
Right.
But that's a proven historical fact. When Leopold came to Congo, his people was dying from it.
Oh, okay.
Straight up, the natives was cool. They would get sick maybe, but not like dying and all that. Like, it wasn't affecting them the same way.
Right. But now you throw that in, and now you're slaving, and you're separated from that. From because that's 2 different time periods, right?
Yeah, but if it's in you, you might be good.
Yeah.
Like if your melanin or something is what fights it off, maybe. I don't know.
Well, yes, but not in this case, because we're going to see they were dying. So that's why I'm I'm saying what you said is true in the Congo. But so where's the Congo?
Central Africa.
Central. Most of us came from West, right?
Yeah, it's Central West.
So it's gonna be. You can get a immunity from being a native of that area, but these slaves wasn't guaranteed to be natives of that area. That's all I'm saying. So these slaves didn't have that immunity, because we're going to see it. And even if they did have it, you have the malarial swamp added with now you're slaving, slave labor. And we already read they don't have to even bring you water like they used to have to back on the plantation. So even if you have that immunity, it's not going to be as effective. You can't even, have a decent diet to uphold that immunity. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, because we definitely would.
Yeah.
Herbs.
Exactly.
If we did get sick when we was free.
Exactly.
Not free, right. You got to take what they give.
Right. That's gone. Like, so, what you said, it's true. They came there and these cats was immune. But once taken out of that, you don't have none of that. Immune system is built off of what you put in your body. They need vaccines because first off, they reject what comes out of earth. But we had that, the knowledge of the herbs and what to eat that boosts the immune system. But in slavery, now that's taken away. And this is the disease, though. Where they was dying off. But now they've taken all that, herb knowledge, the ability to make natural vaccinations, and now you throwing them into the to a swamp that is ridden with malaria and saying, hey, clear this swamp up, sun up to sundown, overworking them, not treating them after diagnosis, right? Because even with that immunity or not needing vaccine in Congo, the herbs, the apothecary, if they could have been taking stuff, you didn't have that. So, this is what they did after. This is after being quote unquote free from slavery, right? So start that just the highlight part from top. When
the New Orleans and Northeastern needed labor to clear a malarial swamp south of Hattiesburg It subleased convicts at a premium daily rate of $1.75 a head.
Mm-hmm.
According to witnesses, the men were chained for days in knee-deep pools of muck, their thirst driving them to drink the water in which they were compelled to deposit their excrement.
See, that's where so it wipes out being y'all are immune to this thing. Man, it's gone past that like the immunity don't even matter because over in the Congo or wherever we were at, and we was able to survive and not get affected by these things. This ain't the condition we were in. We wasn't going and drinking the malaria water, right? None of that.
The larvae, the mosquitoes,
Yeah.
the babies live in the water.
Mhm.
So you putting it in your body two ways.
Yeah.
Bite, and then whatever is going in your stomach.
Right. You drink it, you gotta drink the water. Any cuts is going in your system bloodstream.
It's crazy. That's too much.
And you're chained for days in this knee-deep pool of muck. And right, the excrement. Crazy.
Also, when you are exposed to long-term mosquito bites, that it can cause a genetic mutation. That genetic mutation causes sickle cell. And sickle cell is a form of protection against that strong invasions of the body dealing with it. So
Wow.
it does have it does. It's
So
the body
genetically-
mutating itself
Yeah.
to be able to deal with an environmental factor that those people are not exposed to.
Right.
And we can see that that's a genetic thing that can be passed on because who leads in sickle cell?
And sickle cell, normally, if you have two parents that both have sickle cell, then you're going to have some problems. Right?
You probably have
Deal
it,
with
right?
the elements. But if you're a single person, you're not aligning yourself up with another person who is non-single sickle. The presence of that genetic mutation is still in the bloodstream. And that second generation can pick it up from someone else who introduces it into it. That's how it shows its face in this reality.
Okay. Kind of. So that's, and I think medical apartheid goes into that, I think, and might in depth like that. So that's going to be a part of it too. We got worse than slavery, but then also the medical experimentation. Like this is not it's not freedom. It's not freedom. Everything that's happened, even up to the day, to Black people in America, it's not freedom. So what are we really celebrating? Sadly, most of our people are mistaken, and because of being given holidays like this, we assimilate more into American culture. Because see, it's about all of us. Even we get a holiday. They give us little trinkets, just like everybody else. But no, the condition of and the how you're treated here is not the same as everybody else still today. So what page is that?
I was still at the end of the highlight.
Yeah, and that's the end of that. That's 45. Now we're page 47. Started white taxpayers.
White taxpayers refuse to waste money on the needs of incorrigible young blacks. When a state legislator pressed for a juvenile reform school in the late 19th century, he acknowledged that the opposition to my bill is principally that Negroes form a large majority of the prisoners. As a compromise, he proposed that schooling and moral instruction be limited to the evenings, after 10 or 12 hours of work had been performed in the fields. His bill was defeated on the ground that it was no use trying to reform a Negro.
Somebody get Proverbs 21:29. So that was the mind state. For one, if we're going to school them, let's school them after they've been in the field for 10 hours. We got to get that 10 hours first. But then they're like, nah, let's not do it at all. There's no use in schooling a Negro. Now, why would they feel that way? Why would they feel that way? We don't want you free. We We don't want you to take part of that liberty. We want to make now that we want to make it look like we're good, and the deed that we did was a charitable deed. But look, they just can't be free. They not made for anything but slavery. Look how dumb they are. All they can do is work a field.
So like, I just want to add something to the sickle cell thing, and I'm gonna get off of it.
All right.
Spanish, Hispanics are number 2 for ethnic group to get sickle cell.
Really?
So blacks are number 1. Then the next is right in line with the curses. Spanish.
Oh, you mean Hispanics?
Hispanic, Spanish, whatever.
But I'm saying not
they're
like
number 2.
you're not talking about like you're Caucasians.
No.
Yeah, so-called.
Yeah,
Got
yeah,
you.
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, they're number 2.
That's
for
right
getting
along.
Sickle cell.
That's right along then.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
They're number 2.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to throw it out there.
No, that's good.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That's good stats right there, especially when it comes to matching the curses, right? Like they're number 2.
In Salaki, we see where that the federal government has a hidden hand in this, where they are running profiles on the physical tolerances that a person can endure, dealing under certain stressors. So they had a whole science that's being worked behind this right here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How
But let's save that because we're gonna deal with that. Not probably won't be able to today, but in this class, history, they don't want you to know medical apartheid. So if you don't got that book, go get it. It's a good one too. We're gonna go into that with the history of the medical field, how they use this as guinea pigs, as test subjects, just all types of. They set it up against this. Like it even shows you how we had like in slavery, and after, kind of like Dr. Sebi's today, and they was trying to do away with that, destroy that then. Like the Dr. Sebi's today, that's not something new. But that book kind of touches on that. Proverbs 21:29. All right, you guys sit up. You know better than that.
Proverbs chapter 21, verse 29. A wicked man hardeneth his
A
face.
what kind of man?
A wicked man hardeneth his face.
Hardeneth his face. That's what we're reading about in the book. How they set it up. Let me go back. They said they refuse to waste money on the needs of incorrigible young blacks. They hardened their face. Read that again.
A wicked man hardened his face, but as for the upright,
Go ahead.
he directeth his way.
He directeth his way. So they're wicked. And when they so-called freed us, they just turn around and harden their face. Right? And that's what the wicked does. They said they were in opposition to the bill because it was no use trying to reform a Negro. Right? Keep going. That's how they hardened their face.
Me or him?
Oh, no. You can drop that. Slocky. Back to the book. The highlighted. Mm-hmm.
Black children remained a vital part of Mississippi's powerful convict labor machine.
Mm-hmm.
In the 1870s, the machine included.
Wait. Black children, powerful convict labor machine. Means what? They were locking up children. Yeah. So the wicked, they hardened their face. Right? Go ahead.
In the 1870s, the machine included Robert Day, age 12, height 4 feet 9 inches, complexion black, serving a life.
My bad. I said just watch. I said watch this. Go ahead.
Serving a life sentence for murder.
At 12, right? How you get a life sentence for murder at 12? Now, for one, it probably wasn't murder.
Yeah, exactly.
But even if it was, they don't give you life sentences at 12 years old. Go ahead.
And James
Get
Harrington,
his YO. YO is like 4 years. That's too juvenile.
Yeah, like juvenile life. Or in some places you might have to serve till you're 21. But yeah. Matter of fact, Charleston White is a good example. When he was even older than 12 and 16.
17.
And they put him in the institution until he's 21. Right? But now this is a whole 12-year-old. Probably hasn't been through puberty yet. And so he has life, and he probably didn't commit a murder. Go ahead.
And James Harrington, age 13, height 5 feet 1 inch, complexion black,
Mm-hmm.
serving 10 years for burglary with intent to rape.
And that probably didn't happen either. But not for rape, burglary with intent to rape. How do you get 10 years for that? Cats that actually rape people today, a lot of times don't get 10 years. Unless it's like the third time. Right? Go ahead.
In the 1880s, it added Mary Gay of Vicksburg, a Negro child, but little over 6 years old.
Now, y'all hear that? This is so we're celebrating Juneteenth, the freeing of the last slaves in America. But after that, you got 6-year-olds that are quote unquote criminals. And go ahead, watch.
Sentenced to 30 days plus court costs for stealing a hat.
How's a 6-year-old gonna pay for it?
30 days for stealing a
And
damn
still in a hat. 6-year-olds just is still at the age where you just pick stuff up.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like, come on, you just pick stuff up and you play with it. Might go put it on somebody's head. Yeah, still in a hat. But this is freedom, right? And court costs. How's a 6-year-old gonna pay court costs? Go ahead.
And in 1901, it snared young Will Evans, a flat-nosed Negro from Washington County, whose vital facts were these: height 4 feet 5 inches, occupation
Pull that
errand
verse
boy,
back up.
term 2 years, weight 70 pounds, crime grand larceny, habits of life good, use of tobacco yes, education very good.
Mm-hmm. So his crime was grand larceny. What's grand larceny?
Back then, yeah.
Uh,
Back then we talking
but what is grand larceny?
1,000, I think.
What is it?
I think anything that exceeds 1,000.
Oh, it's stealing something. All right, okay, keep going.
Bill Child, style of whiskers worn when received none.
Mm-hmm.
Young Will was sent to prison for stealing some change from the counter of a dry goods store.
That's grand larceny. That's grand larceny for black people after Juneteenth. Do you read that verse again, the one you already had? Proverbs 21:29. Hold on real quick.
Chapter 21, verse 29.
Uh-huh.
A wicked man hardens his face, but as
That's enough. A wicked man hardens his face. A wicked man sends a child to prison for grand larceny for stealing change from the counter. What you was gonna read, Niall? He was at 8 years old.
Grand larceny.
Go ahead.
Grand larceny is the unlawful taking of someone else's property with the intent to permanently deprive them of it.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike robbery, it does not involve force or threat of violence. It
Mhm.
is classified as a felony.
Mm-hmm. So a felony, a felony for stealing change from a counter at 8 years old. He probably thought it was his change from the purchase at that. Go ahead.
The killings of Gambrell and Martin did not ease the pressure for reform. Others stepped forward to take their place. The patrician Natchez, Democrat, now condemned leasing as dark and shameful, while the rural Chickasaw Messenger called it a stain upon our manhood, the ultimate Southern disgrace.
Mm-hmm.
In the following months, opposition grew amid reports that 15% of Mississippi's convicts had died in 1887, as opposed to less than 1% in states like Ohio and Illinois, which kept their prisoners in penitentiaries under careful state control. According to former Attorney General Frank Johnston, convict leasing in Mississippi had produced an epidemic death rate without the epidemic.
Page 56. The ranks.
The ranks begin to thin. Starvation, exposure, scurvy, dysentery, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pneumonia, malaria, all took their toll. To maintain crumbling discipline, prisoners were tortured for minor infractions of the rules.
Mm-hmm.
Some were whipped to death. Others, strung up by their thumbs, were left with hands resembling the paws of certain apes.
Mm-hmm. This is after Juneteenth. Yeah, somebody get Psalm 94, 20 to 23. So, Psalm 94, 20 to 23. It said that to maintain crumbling discipline, prisoners were tortured for minor infractions of the rules. Right? And that just to bounce off of the fact, Black people were made prisoners for breaking rules like drinking, not having proof of employment, loitering, what else?
You familiar with the laughing barrel? If you were caught laughing in public, if you were amongst other these people and something was humorous, they had barrels on the street that you'd have to stick your head in the barrel and laugh.
Okay.
If you were caught laughing out your head in that barrel,
You'd be a convict.
punishable offense.
Punishable offense.
Yeah.
So somebody read that Psalm 94 and 20. Down to 23.
20 and 23.
22, 23.
22, 23.
Mm-hmm.
Psalms 94, chapter 20. No, Psalms chapter 94, verse 20. Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with these which frameth mischief by a
Hold
law?
on. Should the throne of iniquity have what?
Mischief by a law.
No. Start over.
Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with frameth mischief by a law?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead. They frame mischief by a law, right? Go ahead.
They gather themselves together against the soul of the righteousness and condemn the innocent blood.
So examples of that are you go to prison, you go to convict leasing slavery if you don't have proof of employment, if you're caught laughing outside of a barrel, if you are loitering, and a whole lot more. Or you're tortured for minor infractions of the rules after becoming this prisoner, and you're whooped to death, strung up by your thumbs to the point your hands are left resembling paws of certain apes. And they do this by framing that mischief by their laws, right? And this is to gather against the soul of the righteous, because they understand who Israel is. We don't understand who Israel is. They know who they have underfoot. And condemn the innocent blood. Go ahead, verse 22.
But the Lord is my defense and my God is the rock of my refuge.
Refuge. Go ahead.
And he shall bring upon them their own iniquity, and shall cut them off in their own wickedness.
Yeah.
Ye the Lord our God shall cut them off.
And that's the judgment to come.
Praise the Lord.
All praise to the Most High. That's the judgment to come. Keep reading. Back in worse than slavery. So, whipped to death, strung up by thumbs. So basically hung, because if you strung up by your thumbs to the point your hands resemble the paws of an ape, your weight is pulling down, and it's the only thing your thumb's holding you up. That's what they do. Go ahead.
By the time the job ended, the land alongside the tracks were dotted with graves. 45 of the 72 convicts did not return.
You see that? See, in slavery, at least you wasn't losing 42 out of 72 slaves on the plantation. It would cost the plantation owner money just losing one. It was horrible, and yeah, might get beat for breaking eggs. But this shows that even after being freed, that ending, it actually got even worse. Because now it don't matter if you live or die. And you're still going to get that torture of the whip. So you'll get the torture of the whip, and hey, you might not get to heal from that whooping then. All right, you just got whooped, throw some salt on them cuts, and put him back out in the field. And that way, when he dies, he knows who's boss while he dies. That's what will happen after Juneteenth.
And to show you the level of the medieval heart of these people who had us in chains, is that his slave, or the people, us that were enslaved by them, we were worth more than gold, but we were treated less than dogs.
Exactly.
They valued their pets more than they valued us. Because now we are dispensable people. And
this shows it.
Yes,
if this don't show it, nothing else does, because they did such a noble thing. We freed them helpless people, but then they made laws where, okay, we can paint them a picture as being criminals, and now we can show the world they deserved it. They didn't deserve protection. They it's not us. They really are less than dogs. That's what they did.
And let's not forget, this is what Esau or the nations feel as though that pulling up themselves from their bootstraps look like. This is how they pull themselves up from their bootstrap. And they speak from a prideful position as if we're lazy. Place it. But yeah, this is what it looks like for them.
Fine. Pick back up. It was 45 to 72 didn't return.
And the survivors, the young men who reached Live Oak on that fall day in 1876, were vermin covered, mostly naked and wasted with disease. In Powell's words, the sun never shone upon a more abject picture of misery and dilapidation.
See, this is their words. This is after freedom. The sun never shone upon a more abject picture of misery and dilapidation. Here's a picture of being hung from thumbs. See that? So yeah, that's how they would hang you up for rule violations. They framed mischief, hanging people by their thumbs by law. Go get you a job, but we're not hiring. Page 62, highlighted part.
I was too old and couldn't keep up with the younger men, and they stripped my breeches off and whipped me, and then sprinkled sand on me and whipped me again, and then made me climb a tree that was covered with ants, and they got all over me. They bit me all over. Foster died the following week.
You see that? That's worse than the slavery you were free from. Because there's no profit in letting my slave, after I whip him, There's no profit in me pouring sand on the wounds, making him climb a tree with ants, and getting bit all over so he dies. And now I got to go pay to replace it. Why sand in a wound is dangerous? Severe infection risk, um, foreign body contamination, debris in a wound can cause permanent staining or tattooing the skin, tissue damage. Forcing foreign materials into a wound can cause further injury. So they whipped you, and then they intentionally wanted to cause further injury to the point that you die. And then, hey, send the post to the colonel. We need another one. And another one be sent. Page 63 from the top.
The violent details of convict leasing vary from one location to another, but the larger themes of racial, caste, and cheap, steady labor were everywhere the same.
Mm-hmm.
In Alabama and Arkansas, Texas and Virginia, Florida and Georgia, North and South Carolina, Louisiana and Mississippi, the convict populations were overwhelmingly black.
Mm-hmm.
Of South Carolina's 431 state prisoners in 1880, only 25 were white.
Mm-hmm.
Of Georgia's 1,200 state prisoners in that year, almost 1,100 were Negro. And the figures for Southern County convicts were roughly the same. In Following the Color Line, journalist Ray Stannard Baker described his numerous visits to the local police courts of Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
One thing impressed me especially, he wrote in 1908. A black man brought in was punished much more severely than a white man arrested for the same offense.
Mm-hmm.
The injustice which the weak everywhere suffer, North and South, is in the South visited upon the Negro.
Somebody get Amos 5 and 7. And also Isaiah 42:22. Amos 5 and 7, then Isaiah 42:22.
Amos 5 and 7. Ye who turn judgment to wormwood and leave off righteousness in the earth.
So that's just that's what they do. They turn judgment to wormwood, right? And they leave off righteousness in the earth. That's what we see happening with the black laws, the convict leasing program that they set up, which was the start of what we see today. Isaiah 42 and 22.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 42, verse 22. But this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes, and they are hid in prison houses.
Mm-hmm.
They are for a prey, and none delivereth for a spoil, and none saith restore.
See it, and that's black people here in America, even after being free, right? Who's more robbed and spoiled than black people? Snared in holes, and the lead population in the prison houses, and that was the true today, was true then. So that's what we're reading about. They started building prisons because of black people. We read last week. I don't know, Yaquab, if you remember, we read how they was bringing in prisoners, and they was like, "Where are we going to put them all?" Because they started having too many prisoners for the amount of jails and prisons they had at the time before slavery. This prison industrial system that's today housed by mostly black people is started after Juneteenth to house black people.
And their concept now is prison and school pipeline. They're counting young kids that are being born and using that as a tool to project the demand for beds in prisons.
Yeah, and we just read that started with this system. We just read they said, what use is it to teach a Negro child? So the school to prison pipeline started after Juneteenth with the convict leasing program and black laws that were set in place. In the same way the numbers are so unequal, it was the same then. We just read it. It said South Carolina had 431 prisoners, 25 were white. The rest were black. Those numbers are the same today, right? And now, like you said, they have a term for the system of school to prison pipeline. That system started here. They was going to court and fighting against schooling Negroes. They said, what's the point of schooling a Negro child? Right? Let's go back to the book.
The trends in Georgia mirrored prison changes throughout the South. Between 1870 and 1910, the convict population grew 10 times faster than the general one. Prisoners became younger and blacker, and the length of their sentences soared. An investigation of Georgia's state convict population in 1882 showed coloreds serving twice as long as whites for burglary and 5 times as long for larceny, the two most common crimes. Almost 50% of Georgia's convicts were under sentence of 10 years or more. Although 10 years, reformer George Washington Cable observed, is the utmost length of time that a convict can be expected to remain alive in Georgia penitentiary.
And why was that? Was it from prisoner stabbings? Huh? Was it from gang fights and riots? No, it was from being worked to death. If you got 10 years in prison back then, they pretty much gave you a life sentence, because within about 10 years of serving in the field on a plantation after Juneteenth, you would die serving that slavery. Page 64. Brown and Gordon.
Brown and Gordon comprised 2/3 of the Bourbon triumvirate.
Yep.
That dominated Georgia politics between 1870 and 1895. Both men had deep roots in the Confederacy, and both had championed the New South's industrial path. Together, they leased 1,000 prisoners at a time. 300 worked at Brown's Day coal mines, for which the Georgia Treasury received less than 7 cents per convict per day. By 1880, Brown had become a millionaire, with profits from Dade alone reaching $100,000 a year. He had turned a coal mine into a gold mine, a newspaper reported.
And notice it said they had deep roots in the Confederacy. But now they're able to get back as slave owners legally for so-called convicts, criminals. This crime is just, hey, we let you go. Now you can't eat. You can't provide for yourself. So now you got to come back, but now as a criminal instead of a purchase. That's why I said they framed mischief by law. Right? Go ahead.
There was some criticism. Free miners accused Brown and Gordon of taking away their jobs, and reformers compared the conditions at Dade to those at the infamous Confederate prison camp at Andersonville.
And how do you think they was treating prisoners at the Confederate prison camp? Horrible. Like, I hate you and I want you dead. They were given this authority by who? This is the trickery by the winning side. That's so great. The new America, right? That's who put them back in, gave them their new political power, even though they have deep roots in the Confederacy. It's as if America today went over there and took out Hitler and then started putting his officers and his politicians in the Senate House, in the House of Representatives. That would be a problem, right? It'd be all types of uproar. But that's exactly what happened when it came to us. But that's not anti-Semitic. Crazy, ain't it? Go ahead.
A charge that Brown resented but did not wholeheartedly dispute. We make some profit at the Dade coal mines, and there we use convict labor, he replied. Is it a crime for a citizen to put his money into the development of mineral interests?
See the craft. I'm just a entrepreneur, right? These are criminals. Go ahead.
Especially if he should succeed in making money by his energy and enterprise. One of Brown's convicts was a former slave named Lancaster LeConte. In a letter dated September 14, 1887, LeConte begged his old master, Joseph LeConte, to send him $65 to help get his sentence overturned. Working from dawn to dusk in ankle-deep water had left the convict barely able to move. I am here in prison for the term of 3 years for receiving some stolen goods.
He wrote 3 years for receiving stolen goods. Go ahead.
And my health is so bad that I don't think I will
survive
to save them out.
So he's saying survive. Like it's a slave writing this.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah. I see they putting how he wrote.
Uh-huh.
Exactly how he wrote.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I will to survive them out. So I thought I had done enough for you in slavery time to ask you to please assist me now in my troubles. Lancaster LeConte was 74 years old. The money never arrived, yet LeConte continued his struggle for another 17 months. The prison log read, Lancaster LeConte receiving stolen goods, colored, 75, arrived June 3rd, 1887, died February 13, 1889.
So he got put right back in slavery and was worked to death for receiving stolen goods. That probably wasn't even stolen, but even if they was, how do you get, you didn't steal it. I can sell you something stolen. You have no idea. That's not a crime. Go ahead, read the end of it too.
Some 90 miles to the east, on the outskirts of Athens, Georgia, stood Smithonia, the plantation of James Monroe Smith, described by his biographer as a phenomenal man whose career has no parallel in Georgia history. Colonel Smith has spent a lifetime pursuing his oft-stated goal of acquiring all the land that's next to mine.
Mm-hmm.
At his death in 1915, Smithonia covered 30 square miles, most of Oglethorpe County. Its 500 buildings included 6 schools, a post office, a hotel, a sawmill, a slaughterhouse, a fertilizer plant, a general store, said to gross $100,000 per year, and a 5-story gin house for Colonel Jim's cotton crop, the biggest in Georgia.
Mm. So tell me this ain't talking about these same people. Habakkuk 2, verse 4 and 5.
Behold, his soul, which is lifted up, is not upright in him, but the just shall live by faith, by his faith.
And clearly, these people were never just, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, also, because he transgressed by wine,
Mm-hmm.
He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home.
So they need never keep it home. They have to do what? Go on conquering and taking. Just like this one man, that was his singular thought. This one out of a nation of the same type, same people, his goal was uh, to pursue acquiring all lands next to mine. And that single so-called white man, by the end of it, he had acquired 500 a land that covered 30 square miles and had 500 buildings. Keep going.
Who enlargeneth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people.
Yeah, and he got all that he had set out to get in his life off of newly made slaves again. That's how he did it. Page 78, worse than slavery. No one should have been surprised.
No one should have been surprised. Convict leasing was not about justice, equal treatment, or making the punishment fit the crime. Convict leasing was about profits, brutality, and racist ideas.
Mhm.
Alabamans knew this better than others because their system was an open book. Their prisoners were not hidden away in remote railroad camps or on isolated farms. Most of them dug coal on the outskirts of Alabama's emerging towns and cities, often with free miners near their side. It was hardly a secret that convicts worked whole shifts without a break in ankle-deep pools of water, eating fistfuls of spoiled meat and cornbread that had been stuffed into their clothes. In 1882, Alabama's new warden described his prisoners as worn out, battered men who lived like animals in disgusting quarters, where they breathed and drank their bodily exhalation and excrement. The system, he wrote, is a disgrace to the state and a reproach to the civilization.
Mm-hmm.
A few years later, a literate black convict recalled the life he had endured at the Eureka prison mines in northern Alabama. The men had slept in chains, covered with filth and vermin. He began.
At least in slavery, you had a cabin to go back to.
God.
And this is inside the mine. So these brothers had to slave in these mine caves, digging out tunnels and rock,
Catching black lung.
and then catching black lung, and then also then they had to sleep covered with filth and vermin, and breathe and drink their own bodily exhalation and excrement.
Mm.
Go ahead.
We used powder cans for slop, which would fill up and run over our beds, and we could not move out of the way. We would leave the cells at 3 o'clock a.m. and return at 8 o'clock p.m., going the distance of 3 miles through rain and snow.
So they didn't. They pretty much worked until death. You getting up at 3 o'clock and return at 8 o'clock. That's like 18 hours a day.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That leaves 6 hours to sleep. You literally have zero leisure time at all. Mm-hmm.
So I can have a scripture for that. Deuteronomy 28, 66 and 67. And thy
Hold
life
on,
shall hang.
hold on. All right.
Deuteronomy 28, 66. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shalt have none assurance of thy life. And in the morning thou shalt say, would God it were evening, and at evening thou shalt say, would God it was morning, for the fear of thy heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thy eyes which thou shalt see.
And
So we're
go ahead.
looking at the dungeons and the holes that they fed, and you eat what you find while you're working, right? You sleep where you work.
Yeah, and you up at 3 a.m. You're back at 8 p.m. If man, that's at even. I wish it was morning. At morning, I wish it was even. Your whole life is just. I wish I was back in bed. I wish I was back in bed. Sleep, but sleep is miserable. I wish it was morning. Morning, wake up. It's miserable. I wish I was back in bed. There was zero in slavery. You at least had that. You watch Roots. They had some few and far between, but they had some good times in Roots. They at least had family, and it wasn't this bad, right? They had some leisure time. They could sit on the porch and talk, right? Have a drink, maybe eat something, even though it's scraps. After slavery, they like, oh, okay, y'all want to be free. We'll show y'all something. And that's what we're reading about. Now we're gonna get you back. And now we don't gotta give you anything at all. You don't gotta feed you. Drink that piss, eat that shit.
We look at the 100, I think there was 193 nations that were put to the vote that slavery was the greatest atrocity in humankind. 3 said no. America.
Yeah, that's what we started with.
Yeah, okay.
I pulled up the chart. We went over those 3, and we went over all the countries that didn't vote at all. And what you find is they all heathen nations, mainly Esau. Maybe I think it was like 2 or 3 or 4 that was not Esau. They was like Elam or Moab or something, right? Yeah, and to not vote at all means you're not saying yes. You're saying no, because these atrocities are so bad that it's not a toss-up. If
it's an admission of guilt,
that it would be an admission of guilt to say yes, and it's exactly because you're guilty. No matter what, you're guilty. So, but it's okay to be, for them, it's okay to be guilty in saying no, because I'm letting you know I ain't paying you nothing. If I vote yes, then I got to go further and pay you something. At least with me saying no, I'm guilty. But when you come and say, well, why ain't you giving me reparations? I can say, well, I don't believe it's the worst. You're tripping.
It's not worthy of a reparations package, right? But this right here, not only is it the bootstraps that are needed for European societies to pull themselves up from their bootstraps, but we see that this is another level of reparations for his evil works, not for a righteous loss, but for his evil works throughout the progression of our oppression here in the Americas and the Western world. There's a perpetual reparations package. We're going to pay you because there's hardship, because we emancipated your slaves. Now we're going to pay you once again by giving you slaves. When does the reparation end to these other nations? It's still reparations. It's still the instruments that nations have used to pull themselves up from their bootstraps.
What's the reparations for them?
Well, it's a reparations when I need to take and form my 500 houses and so many miles of property, and I can go and get some Negroes to come and do it. It's still,
you're saying they're getting reparations.
Exactly.
Right.
Esau has never had that reparations.
Right.
every hardship for his wicked deeds.
They got reparations for being beaten
Violent.
in war, in the Civil War.
Right.
The South received reparations, right? You going on that aspect. Because the North came in, the Union came in, destroyed, and then they said, "Well, we're going to fix you up, though.
That's what it's all about.
Here, you can make them slaves by making these crimes, and we're going to back that. You're going to put you in government. We're going to give you the ability. Here, you can get your reparations." Kind of like they go and they bomb the shit out of Iran, and they like, "Yeah, we did $80 million damages. Now we're going to give $300 billion in reparations for you to fix that. But we're just going to take it out of your Arab brothers and sisters. They're going to pay it. So don't worry. We're going to destroy it. We're going to give y'all reparations. We're going to give reparations. Everybody's going to get reparations, right? Except for them Negroes.
Right. And to go under the auspices that we're not in slavery today. Here we are, people that are captive in the land by our enemies. And when they go and harm someone or they cause a disruption to someone, we have to finance that reparation deal.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Because they do it with our taxes. And they do it with us. They send us to do it.
Somebody got to get a low-end job and be the hardest work but the least paid.
Back in the book.
We go to sell wet, go to bed wet, and arise wet the following morning. In every guard, knocking, beating, yelling, and every day someone of us were carried to our last resting, the grave. Day after day, we looked death in the face and was afraid to speak. Prisoners were whipped for failing to meet their daily quotas and tortured for various infractions, a practice that would continue well into the 20th century. They were hung from makeshift crucifixes, stretched on wooden stakes, and placed in coffin-sized sweat boxes for hours at a time, generally made of wood or tin, explained a student of the Alabama prisons. The sweat box is completely closed except for a small hole at nose level. When placed under the blistering southern sun, the temperature inside becomes unbearable. In a few hours, a man's body swells and occasionally bleeds. In 1870, Alabama prison officials reported that more than 40% of their convicts had died, prompting a doctor to warn that if the trend continued, the entire convict population will be wiped out within 3 years.
Which they didn't care about, because why? They get more convicts. Just some pictures of the rack. The sweat box. The sweat box you have to stand up in. If you've seen Life, you remember that was punishment. Basically,
Django, she was put in there.
Yeah, hers was in the ground. She was put in the sweat box. Page 84. Worse than slavery, of course.
Of course, the convict had to survive in order to profit. And that raised the inevitable question, why did so many of these prisoners die? The answer, quite naturally, was linked to race. Texas officials described the average black convict as a moral degenerate who entered prison with the seeds of disease already in his system. The convict appeared normal until he was put to hard labor, at which time the seeds flowered and the poor fellow dropped dead. Florida's chief prison doctor concluded that an array of debasing habits led by lust and passion had produced a high mortality rate among Negro convicts. Alabama officials insisted that blacks fared poorly in the coal mines because of their physical inferiority.
You see how they try to flip it. Oh, it's not because we working them to death. It's not because we ain't feeding them and giving them drink. It's because they're physically inferior. But nobody else can do these jobs. Go ahead.
The tougher the job and the more dangerous the conditions, the worse they did in comparison to whites. This logic was preposterous, and the mine owners well knew. Black convicts had a higher mortality rate because they mined coal under appalling conditions, while most white convicts were tucked safely behind prison walls.
Mm-hmm.
Furthermore, blacks comprised about 40% of the free coal miners in Alabama, and no employer ever accused them of being physically inferior to whites. At that very moment, in fact, the prestigious manufacturer's record was insisting that the Negro has no equal for patient industry and mule-like endurance. Vardaman boasted that his victory had been a blessing to both races because the white man remained on top and the Negro remained alive. Had he lost Vardaman said he would have had to kill more Negroes in the next 12 months in Mississippi than he had to kill in the last 20 years. Shortly after taking office in 1905, Governor Vardaman sent an urgent message to the law officers of Mississippi. The vast increase in criminal Negroes, he wrote, had become a peril to the peace of the community and a menace to the safety of the white man's.
Mm-hmm.
Vardaman urged police and prosecutors to crack down hard. Let there begin a most vigorous campaign against the vagrant, the vicious idler, and the keeper of dives of infamy. Let the rendezvous of the rapist and murderer, the crap shooter, and the blind tiger be closed. Unless this was done, he warned, the mob will usurp the function which you should perform, but which you have betrayed.
I think that was supposed to go first, but too late. Go ahead, next page.
In the midst of the 1903 campaign, 2 black men were lynched in separate incidents in Sunflower County. A few newspapers blamed Vardaman, who had recently traveled there to serve local whites against their Negro wench postmaster, Minnie M. Cox. The following year, a black sharecropper named Luther Hobart was suspected of murdering a white plantation owner near the Sunflower County town of Doddsville. Hobart tried to escape with his wife, but the two were captured by a posse and tied to a tree.
Read that last part.
Oh, I had it in memory.
Okay.
More than 1,000 spectators were on hand, eating hard-boiled eggs, sipping lemonade, and swinging whiskey, as the Hobarts were subjected to fiendish tortures before being burned alive. They were forced to hold out their hands while one finger at a time was chopped off and distributed as souvenirs. Their ears were cut off. Hobart was beaten severely. His skull was fractured, and one of his eyes knocked out with a stick, hung by a shred from the socket. The most excruciating form of punishment consisted in the use of large corkscrew in the hands of some of the mob. This instrument was bored into the flesh of the man and woman in the arms, legs, and body, and then pulled out. The spirals tearing out big pieces of raw, quivering flesh every time it was withdrawn.
This is a picture of it.
This is without
This-
censure.
This is still the book Worse Than Slavery.
Oh,
It's just going over things that happened after freedom. Like, this is what freedom looks like for black people in America in 1860s and up. What we celebrate with Juneteenth. This is what we're literally celebrating. This is the victory that was gained from Juneteenth. Mm-hmm.
Can I make comment on the British? Because
Oh, what? The
Jamaican,
British?
the Isles were still controlled British Empire.
All right, hold that.
So it's-
Let's read this precept first. Somebody get Isaiah 52, 4 and 5. Read that.
Isaiah
Uh-huh.
Isaiah what?
54, 2.
2.
52, 4 to 5. Read that.
Isaiah chapter 54, verse 2. Enlarge the place of thy tent and let them stretch.
Wait, where are you at?
Isaiah 54, verse 2.
52, verse 4 and 5.
Verse 4.
Yes. 4 and
Isaiah
5.
Isaiah chapter 52, verse 4. For thus shall the Lord God, my people went down aforetime into Egypt to
Sojourn there.
sojourn there in the
And the Assyrian.
Assyrian oppressed them without cause.
I like this verse for another reason. It proves that when it's talking about Assyria, Egypt, Babylonians all the time, that it can be talking about today. Because in Egypt, where was the Assyrian? In Egypt, where was the Assyrian? Wasn't.
He wasn't.
It wasn't.
Right.
But it says we went to Egypt and the Assyrian oppressed them.
Mm.
See that? But anyway, so the Assyrian oppressed them without a cause, right? Just like we were freed from captivity, but we still were sojourning in that place of captivity, right? But while sojourning in this place of captivity and being freed, what happened? They oppressed us. The Assyrian oppressed us. Go ahead, verse 5.
Now therefore what have I here, saith the Lord, that my people is taken away for naught.
For naught.
They that rule over them make them to howl.
They that rule over them make them to howl. They lock them up for not having proof of a job, not laughing in a barrel, stealing change from a counter, allegedly, and they forced them to hold their hands out while one finger at a time was chopped off as souvenirs. They cut off their ears and beat them severely till their eyes hang out. They take a corkscrew and screw it into their flesh and rip it out.
Oh, I know that.
That's what happened after being freed from slavery. You can drop that.
Oh, it's a lot.
What you was going to add?
A lot of times we hear a lot about the so-called liberals, or we talk about the people who walk with us.
Mhm.
Then this is in Jamaica area where we get the Willie Lynch extension of the slave trade with us.
Mhm.
In 1834, the Slavery Abolition Act took effect, but it only freed enslaved children under the age of 6 years of age. Older children were forced into mandatory apprenticeship systems, which required them to continue working long unpaid hours for their former enslavers.
Mm.
Following the widespread abolitionist campaign to protest the
Real quick, what are you reading from?
I'm reading off of Google.
Oh, for Google? Oh, can I pull it up?
Wikipedia.
What'd you put? I can pull it up.
You can
What'd you
go
type
into-
so I can pull it up?
You can go into Jamaica's emancipation.
Jamaica's emancipation. And it's the Wikipedia
Mhm.
Emancipation Day.
You have the timeline of freedoms.
Oh, no. Okay. AI overview.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Let me zoom in. All right, read again from top.
Okay, from the top. The Slavery Abolitionist Act took effect, but it only freed enslaved children under 6 years old. Older children were forced into mandatory apprenticeship programs. which required them to continue working long, unpaid hours for their former enslavers. August the 1st of 1838, following the widespread abolitionist campaign to protest the apprenticeship program, was prematurely ended, granting full freedom to thousands of children. So these are abolitionists that are working. They protested the apprenticeship program was prematurely ending. They weren't protesting that it was wrong, but these are the same people who supposed to have walked with us are here protesting that under this form of convict leasing that you ended it too short.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we go to Isaiah 32:7-8, it says, the instrument also churls of evil. He deviseth wicked, deviseth to destroy the poor with lying words, even when needily speaking right. But the liberal devises liberal things, and the liberal things shall he stand. So here it is. He's always been about slavery. He's been liberal. He pretended to take and be an abolitionist, but in his heart, he had dealings that stood for oppression and squeezing the wealth out of other people.
Right. All right. That's it?
Yes, that's it.
Oh, okay. All right, let's go back. Let's go back to the book, y'all. Page 114, Mary Hamilton.
Mary Hamilton provided a similar portrait of early Delta life. She knew that the loggers drank and gambled and brawled, that each man carried a gun, a loaf of bread, and a pint of whiskey to his job. And she had been told that killings and lynchings were common in the camps as a form of entertainment on Saturday nights. I took it as a joke, she said, but not for long. A few months later, while treating a lumberjack whose foot had been split open with an axe, Hamilton smelled a strong odor coming from the man's pocket. When she reached in, a Negro's finger dropped into her hand. I was trembling all over, she recalled. The foreman quickly apologized, explaining that his men had just lynched a nigger, accused of raping a white woman, and then cut him up for souvenirs. That is all right. I approve of that part, Hamilton replied. But if you have any fingers or toes about you, don't bring them in the house.
So she's, I don't mind that. I don't mind that. They're animals anyway, but, you know, keep the fingers and the limbs outside the house. They stink. Keep reading.
By the early 1900s, the Delta frontier had largely disappeared. With the levees up, the best land cleared, and the railroads in place, King Cotton found its perfect southern home. In no other region did nature provide such lush inducements for success. To speak of agriculture here means one thing: cotton, wrote anthropologist Hortense Powdermaker. Yet cotton meant more to Delta people than agriculture alone. Cotton fueled the economy, determined the class structure, and dominated race relations. It is because of cotton that slaves were brought here. Because of cotton that Negroes far outnumber whites. Because of cotton that the plantation system developed under slavery has been modified to continue after.
You see that? That's what they said out of their own mouth and pen. That whole cotton industry that's built off of the back of slave hands, even though that you guys are free, it's been modified to continue after that. Uh, 116. The unpainted plantation.
The unpainted plantation cabins without lights, plumbing, or insulation lined the flat dirt roads that led to the fields. Children attended ramshackle one-room schools in the off times.
And see it's in quotes. You know what that means, right? off times is in quotations. Children were attended school in one room, by the way, schools in the off times, in quotations. What's that mean? Huh? Not even that.
Whenever
It
they
means,
decide.
yeah, whenever it means quote unquote off times. It's like saying there really ain't no off times, but sometimes, yeah, sometimes there's off times. That's when they go to school. Go ahead, keep going.
Between spring planting and fall picking,
Mm-hmm.
when their labor was not needed. Workers were often forced to shop in overpriced plantation commissaries because their credit was extended in scrip or coupons rather than cash.
Mm-hmm.
Some tenants, as late as the 1950s,
So Juneteenth, it happened 1865. What this is going to is even up to 1950s, which is a system where we're paying you, but we're really not paying you. We're giving you coupons to get what it gave you for free in 1850. Go ahead.
some tenants, as late as 1950s, had never seen a dollar bill. The Delta is cotton obsessed, Negro obsessed, and flood ridden, a scholar remarked. It is the deepest South, the heart of Dixie, America's super plantation belt. The arrangement between tenant and landlord varied from place to place. On most plantations, sharecropping was the rule. In return for a cabin, water, firewood, and mule, team, farm tools, and cottonseed, the tenant gave the landlord a fixed portion, usually 50% of his crop.
Mm-hmm.
Families worked as a unit from first light to last.
Mm-hmm.
Their day began at 4:30 a.m. with a breakfast of fried okra, salt, pork, and tomato gravy. By 5 o'clock,
Basically slop.
yeah. By 5 o'clock, they are all in the field. The blistering heat sends them in about 11, and dinner is cooked: turnip greens, cornbread, more salt pork,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes pie.
Mm-hmm. Crap.
They lie around and rest until 1:30, then return to the field until sundown.
Mm-hmm.
Supper consists of the leftovers from dinner. March 1st was limit day in the Delta, when the first credit or furnish was extended at the plantation store. Each family could charge from $10 to $20 per month in supplies, depending on the acreage it farmed. The prices were considerably higher than those in town, and the interest rates often reached 25%. But
That's a lot. That's a lot.
All right.
The interest rates, like you borrow $100, it's not like a year from now it gets up to $125. You owe $125. So multiply that, $1,000, you owe $1,250. And not to mention that's the interest rates. Then what they're charging for it said the prices of what you're even borrowing are already higher than what's in town, which you're on the bottom. There ain't no buses. You can't afford a mule to ride all the way to wherever the nearest town is. So you're not going there. It was like we just read above. What we read, how they put it, it was slavery again. It was modified to continue. Slavery was modified to continue.
Slavery under another name.
Mm-hmm. Keep going in the book.
But planters neatly defended the furnish and as a protection for their tenants,
Mm-hmm.
a way of getting them to purchase necessities instead of squandering their money on whiskey, gambling, and sex.
Like, so I can't. Maybe that's what I want. Maybe I want to, relieve my stress of being a slave to you even after being free from slavery. That's what they would color it. We're charging them these outrageous prices and interest. It's for your protection. We're keeping you from alcohol abuse and what does it say? Gambling your money away. Keep going.
The besetting sin of the Delta Negro, said one straight-faced apologist, is his uncurbed, headlong extravagance.
And another thing, who's mainly against the Israelites today? Apologists. I just thought that was funny. Who we gotta argue with the most? Apologists. Who was back in the early 1900s saying, yeah, we're charging these outrageous prices and interest to protect these Negroes from being alcoholics, gambling, and overly sexed. Now they just out here today saying we're trying to prevent you Negroes from falling into being a BHI. Somebody get Leviticus 19:33 to 36.
Verse 3.
I got it.
Stand up and bring it out.
Leviticus 19, verse 33.
Mm-hmm.
And if a stranger sojourn
Yeah, sojourn with thee
sojourn
in your land.
with thee in your land, ye shall not vex him.
So just showing this, we have laws on how to deal with strangers, servants, the poor, the needy. One of them is if a stranger sojourn with thee in your land, you shall not vex them. So let's scratch the fact that we were slaves at one time and they would say, I can treat my possession how I want. Okay. You know, fine. But then come along and y'all are free now. Okay, so then these people, we're not possessions no more. Now you're what? A stranger. I'm a stranger sojourning in your land then. God said, a stranger sojourning in your land, don't vex him. Keep going. You stay ready.
But the stranger that dwelleth with you shall be unto you as one born among you.
It should be as if your own people. Right? Go ahead.
And thou shalt love him and as thyself.
Treat him like you want to be treated. Go ahead.
For ye were
For ye.
strangers in the land of Egypt.
Now, they wasn't strangers in the land of Egypt, but guess what? They was once strangers in the land of America. And how were they treated? They got taken care of. They was treated very well. The natives treated them like their own, like they would want to be treated. God's saying, even to us, remember that ye were strangers in Egypt. How did you want to be treated in Egypt? Oh, you want to be treated good. Well, then you need to treat the strangers in your land good. Go ahead.
I am the Lord your God.
Go ahead.
Ye shall do no unrighteousness and
Judgment. So it'll come times where it's okay to have a judicial system. It's okay to send prisoners away for a certain amount of time. Righteous judgment. Not go to jail for 3 years for receiving a carton of eggs that was stolen and you didn't even know about it. Or for not having a job. That's the one that got me. No, I can't provide proof of employment. Man. Yeah, I'm going to have to write you up on that one. Your court date is this, that, and third. Still ain't got, I'm going to have to fine you. You still ain't get a job? Nah, I've been trying everywhere. Nobody's hiring. Will you hire me? Nah, we don't hire blacks. Well, damn. It's so you shall do no unrighteousness in judgment. Go ahead. In meat yard, that's the word. I know you're gonna ask.
I lost. Oh yeah.
Verse
In meat
35.
yard,
In meat
and
yard.
weight or in measure,
Uh-huh.
and a just him shall ye have.
No. You done skipped a lot. Start 36 from the top.
Just balances.
Just balances.
Just weights.
Just weights.
A just.
Just ephods, another form of measurement.
And a just him
Another form of measurement. Go ahead.
shall ye have. I am the Lord your God.
Uh-huh.
Was brought you out of the land of Egypt.
And drop that. So if it's one nation under God, why treat the Negro so unfair and cruel? Or is it perpetual hatred? If the Negro is free from slavery and you're one nation under God, why treat him so unfair and cruel? Must be a perpetual hatred. And that hatred is still today.
The spirit in him is not upright.
Right. The spirit in him is not upright. That's where we'll end it today. Once again, I want to give all praise, glory, and honor Yahweh B'Shem Mashiach Yahweh Shai. Shabbat Shalom. I hope the class was edifying. The history of us here in America after being so-called freed from slavery. We're celebrating these different holidays. We should know what they're about. And Juneteenth is supposed to be the freeing of our people from slavery, the last slaves in America, June 19th, 1865. But when you look into the history of us after then, up until today, Black people is still fighting for freedom. So the Bible says, "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." That's what we have to continue to come into, is the truth of the Bible, who we are as a people, which is the true Israelites according to the Bible. Once again, Shabbat Shalom, Kwam Yashala.
Come on, Shalom.